TechUp. I'm your host, Sarah Ingram, and once again, we're bringing you tech news and reviews on mobile apps, gadgets, peripherals, and more. Here's what we have for you this week. The future of 3D printing with actual beating heart cells, predictions of when we might make contact with aliens, robots that have customizable personalities, which isn't at all creepy, and an honest-to-goodness, real-world, actual, maybe head transplant. Seriously. We also have Alan from The Source join us with some cool tech goodies in our Ask a Pro segment. First up, let's talk about this week's download. Researchers at the Wake Forest School of Medicine have 3D printed actual beating heart cells called organoids. The heart cells are created by first genetically modifying adult human skin cells into induced pluripotent stem cells. Then the induced stem cells are redesigned to create the organoids. The researchers have stated that the cells have to be stored in the same temperature as the human body, and they can stimulate the miniature organ with electrical or chemical cues to alter the beating patterns. Growing them in 3 dimensions allows for them to interact with each other more easily, as they would in the human body. This $24 million project ultimately hopes to recreate 3D printed human organs that function just as well as the real ones. Be still my heart. This is truly amazing. NASA's Curiosity rover has found water beneath the surface of Mars, but that doesn't mean we'll be greeting ET anytime soon. Until now, scientists have thought that the conditions on the red planet were too cold and arid for liquid water to exist, although there were known to be deposits of ice. The latest findings suggest that Martian soil is damp with liquid brine. Liquid water is traditionally considered an essential ingredient for life, but Mars remains hostile for other reasons. The latest findings are unlikely to change the view that if life ever blossomed on Mars, it probably died out more than 1 billion years ago. Today, cosmic radiation penetrates at least 1 meter into the Martian surface and would kill even the most robust microbes known on Earth. Perhaps the Mars 1 delay is a good thing. Cosmic radiation does not exactly sound like a vacation. Chinese scientists have developed a silicon chip with silver nanoparticles that's capable of detecting different pathogens in blood samples. There are growing concerns within the medical community over the emerging threat of resistant pathogens that, if left unchecked, could lead to the premature death of 300 million people by 2050. Surface-enhanced Raman scattering, or SERS, may provide a solution to these problems. A new highly efficient, multifunctional platform was created by embedding silver nanoparticles in a silicone wafer. Human blood spiked with E. coli or staph was deposited onto the chip to determine whether SERS could distinguish between the harmful pathogens and surrounding blood cells. They found that the SERS chip could detect both pathogens down to concentrations of a few hundred colony-forming units per millimeter. Following detection, the chip was able to kill the bacteria through silver anions from the surface. They're like tiny blood ninjas of science. The chief scientist of NASA predicts that we will find signs of alien life by the year 2025. Recent discoveries suggest that the solar system and broader Milky Way galaxy teem with environments that could support life. For example, oceans of liquid water slosh are believed to exist beneath the icy shells of the Jupiter moons Europa and Ganymede, as well as that of the Saturn satellite Enceladus. Farther afield, observations by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope suggest that nearly every star in the sky hosts planets, and many of these worlds may be habitable. Indeed, Kepler's work has shown that rocky worlds like Earth and Mars are probably more common throughout the galaxy than gas giants such as Saturn and Jupiter. So now is probably a good time to pull out my keyboard and start practicing. Do 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 do. A new drone startup has an ambitious and slightly crazy plan to plant 1 billion trees every year. The Biocarbons drone flies above an area, mapping its level of forestation and reporting back on the potential for restoration. Then the aerial vehicle swoops to 2 to 3 meters above ground and fires out a seed pod at sufficient velocity to penetrate the soil surface. The seeds themselves are pre-germinated and covered in a nutritious hydrogel, giving them a higher chance of success. The founder doesn't say that the method is better than hand planting, just cheaper, and estimates the drone can fire out seeds at a rate of 10 seeds per minute. With 2 operators manning multiple drones, he believes it will be possible to plant up to 36,000 trees in a day. In all, UAV seeding could be about 15% of the cost of traditional methods. Biocarbon, which is based in the UK, won a Skoll Foundation Award last year and was recently featured in a Drones for Good competition in the United Arab Emirates, where it showed off a prototype. It hopes to have a fully working product by the end of this summer. In a new study, scientists have caused mice to artificially associate unrelated memories. The team used a technique called optogenics, which involves genetically modifying specific populations of neurons to express light-sensitive proteins that control neuronal excitability. It then delivers blue light through an optic fiber to activate those cells. They were able to cause the mice to associate a foot shock with the unrelated memory of exploring a safe environment. The findings show that synchronous activation of distinct cell ensembles can generate artificial links between unrelated pieces of information stored in memory, resulting in long-lasting changes in behavior. By modifying this technique, they will next attempt to artificially dissociate memories that are physiologically connected. This may contribute to developments in new treatments for psychiatric disorders like post-traumatic stress disorder, whose main symptoms arise from unnecessary associations of unrelated memories. A patent has just been awarded to Google that suggests we could potentially be able to download new AI personalities straight from the cloud. These robot personalities may also be modifiable within a base personality construct to provide states or moods representing transitory conditions of happiness, fear, surprise, perplexion, thoughtfulness, and so forth, which is stated in the patent. A more concerning concept, perhaps, though, is that a robot could be programmed to take on the personality of a real-world person. The patent suggests a deceased loved one or a celebrity, so that effectively you could get someone to live on after their death in robot form. This technology is obviously just a patent thus far, but given that it's no secret quite how many robotics companies Google has bought over the past year, it would almost be surprising if they weren't working on something like this. I'll take one Chris Pratt robot, please, and actually also a Natalie Dormer. In head-turning news, a man has volunteered to be a part of the world's first head transplant. Spiridonov, who suffers from a terminal muscle-wasting disease, told Mail Online he was scared, but the operation could offer him an opportunity to live while his genetic condition will kill him. Dr. Canavero says it is possible to sever the heads of a living patient and a brain-dead patient with an otherwise healthy body and reattach the spinal cords using a substance called polyethylene glycol. Dr. Canavero has said in the past that medicine is now technically ready for such an operation to be successful. The only hurdle remains in the ethics of the operation. The expected cost of this operation could easily stretch upwards of $10 million. I'm just curious if that also includes flashing lights, lightning, crazy scientific professor hair updos, and maniacal laughter training. Thanks again to the folks at Futurism for supplying us with this month's biggest news bits. Make sure you check out Futurism online so you can stay up to date with all the science and technology developments as they happen. That wraps up this episode of TechUp. Make sure you leave your comments and suggestions on Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think and what you want to see. I'm your host, Sarah Ingram, and we'll see you next time.
Come see me in the moonlight. Something wrong with my eyesight. This darkness seems so bright to me. Tell me what is so wrong. Tell me what you've been waiting on. I've been catching you singing along with every word I sing. Or are you waiting on a hero?